Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Let's talk about super middleweights. Big fight this weekend between two unbeaten fighters. Lucian Bute, 28-0 with 23 knockouts, and he's taking on unbeaten Jean-Paul Mendy, 29-0 with 16 knockouts. Let's give this battle of unbeatens a shot. But before I go further, just remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let's talk boxing styles. It's really more of a boxing style video than a gambling video. Let's talk styles. Last week's heavyweight fight, Vladimir Klitschko, David Haye. Both of those guys had styles where they could hurt you with power shots from distance, right? Neither of them, in my opinion, I know I've taken heat, in my opinion, neither of them is that good inside, right? I would argue that neither has an inside game. But from distance, both guys are deadly. Let me focus on Vladimir Klitschko. He's the more complex guy. Vladimir Klitschko will batter you with his jab, right? He's literally battering you with a battering ram jab. But Klitschko also has a very devastating left hook that he can throw from distance, right? Take a look at the Ray Austin fight. He's so effective with his left that he never throws his right hand the entire fight, right? Take a look at Klitschko against Eddie Chambers in the 12th round. You're going to see that he hits Eddie Chambers with a left hook from halfway across the ring, right? And of course, Klitschko, his right hand, he can throw a straight right hand from distance and literally take you out. Take a look at the Calvin Brock fight. What he does is he desensitizes you to the right hand by throwing a left in your face that keeps you occupied. Then he comes back with the right hand, and you could be in front of him, away from him. He can hurt you from long range. I've watched tape of Jean-Paul Mendy, and while Mendy has a jab and looks like he's a long jabber, I don't think he can hurt you from long range. You know, he looks to me to be a guy who softens you up with the jab, right? He tenderizes you with the jab, then he comes in, and then he throws hooks. It's the hooks that hurt, right? I don't believe the jab hurts that much. It's the hooks. If he didn't have the jab, and if the jab wasn't accurate and effective for him out of a defensive shell, I would call him a mid-range hooker. But because he has the jab, I think he's a bit deceptive. I like Bute to win this fight. I think Bute is one of the best fighters in the sport in any weight class. And I believe what Bute is going to do is Bute is going to effortlessly avoid Jean-Paul Mendy's jab, right? Because that's what Bute does. Bute avoids the jab. He's interesting because he is over 30. Both guys are over 30 in this fight, but Bute's over 30 and doesn't have a lot of wasted motion. He's not a mover like Andre Durrell or like George Groves, right? He's outside. He's avoiding the jab. He'll often have his hands down. He'll sometimes fight out of a Philly shell. He'll avoid the jab by not even blocking it, by moving his upper body. And what that allows him to do is that allows him to keep his hands free. So when he ducks the jab, he has a free hand that he can hit you with, right? And he's a southpaw. He'll hit you with the right. What I like with Bute, what separates him, in my opinion, from most, is not just the way in which he's able to hover without really moving that much, the way he's able to hover outside and dodge your jab, but what makes him special is that he has an inside game. You know, after last week's heavyweight fight, we might have forgotten what one looks like. But Bute has a very nice series of punches that he can throw inside. He literally can just get inside, land strategic body punches. He's an excellent body puncher. I would encourage everyone here to take a look at his fight against Edison Miranda, where he knocked Miranda out on a body punch, and his fight against Brian McGee, where he wore out Brian McGee with very hard body punches. Bute is like a cat. You know, he'll hang out, then he'll just get inside. I can't call him an ambush fighter because he's a sustained fighter. He can box you for the full 3 minutes of the round. So he's not David Hay. He's not Jean Pascal. He's not low volume, staying outside and then having intermittent ambushes or attacks where he's going for the knockout. This is different. This is a boxer puncher. You know, a guy who I like to refer to, a type, as a deconstructionist, right? You know, counterpunchers start slow. I put Bute in the same camp that I put Floyd Mayweather, Dimitri Pirog, James DeGale. These guys literally are reading you during the fight. They don't have a formula that they bring into the ring like David Hay did against Vladimir Klitschko, or like Manny Pacquiao does to me in fights. They don't have a formula where they come in and fight the same fight every fight. You know, they don't have the winning formula that they religiously follow and do in kind of like a pattern. No, these guys are adaptive, reactive, and what they're doing is they literally spend the first few rounds reading you, and they can fight you outside or inside, right? Chad Dawson, another one, right? They can fight you outside or inside. They have tools, but they decide which tools will be most effective for them. So Bute, if he needs to, can literally come inside and take you out inside. If he needs to, Bute can be outside and he can take you out outside. Take a look. It's a great fight. It's on YouTube of Bute against Sakio Bika. Now understand, Bika's interesting for these two men because Bika destroyed Mendy in their fight. Bika got inside. Bika legitimately knocked Mendy down to the canvas, right? While Mendy was on the canvas, had a knee on the canvas, that's when Bika hit him again and got immediately disqualified by Joe Cortez, right? That fight's noteworthy because it looked like Mendy had very little to keep Bika off of him. Now, Bika is interesting because there's also tape online of Bika against Andre Ward. And Andre Ward is an elite fighter, right? I consider Andre Ward to be a chameleon. He's stunning to me. And in that fight, you'll see that Andre Ward had to smother Bika to beat him. Now, I want you to compare and contrast Andre Ward fighting Bika to Lucian Bute, right? And Bute's really fascinating because Bute reached a rhythm. He loses some of the early rounds. I believe after 5 rounds, Bute had lost 3 or 4 of the first 5. But once Bute figures out the angles, and keep in mind, Bute isn't moving all over the ring like Amir Khan or George Groves or Andre Durrell, right? Bute, and the beauty of guys in their 30s is they're just too old to move all over the ring, right? So there's an economy of motion, and it's beautiful. Bute's in front of Bika, who's two-handed and who hits extremely hard, and you're going to see him hover. That's the only word that I can come up with. Hover, figure out how to land a straight left, which is his dominant hand, and then you see him hitting Bika, who's a hooker, right? Bika, everything is wide. You see him literally timing Bika to the point where when Bika threw a punch, Bute would come back with the straight left hand. Took him a few rounds to figure out the timing. But once he figured out that timing, that fight was over. Bute won that fight by a wide margin. That's a 2007 fight. Bika and Bute remain, championship level. Bika obviously, after knocking down Mendy, could easily have been in this fight. What I think is going to happen is I'm expecting uh, Mendy to be unable to land his jab. I think Bute is going to figure out that he can just stay outside, and Mendy can't do anything on him. Then Bute, who is a counterpuncher, is going to figure out Mendy's timing, right? I don't believe it's that hard to do. Then Bute, who, like Andre Ward, and it's stunning that you have talented guys like Bute, Ward, and James DeGale all in the same division. Talent-wise, I think that's top of the food chain for most divisions, right? Here you have three, in my opinion, of the best in the sport in the same division. What you'll find out from Bute is that if Bute needs a high guard, he'll have a high guard. I don't think he'll need a high guard. If he wants a low guard like he had against Brian McGee, if he feels that he has the hand speed advantage on Mendy and decides that he's just going to wait for an opening and then come in with punches, I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to adapt however he needs to adapt. I think he starts to dominate this fight probably in the fourth or fifth rounds, and I think he wins the fight going away. I think this guy is a craftsman. I think this is the kind of guy all of us need to watch to kind of like see what a guy who's seasoned and experienced in the sport, who can literally throw different styles at you, who is a southpaw, who knows how to handle himself, right, can do when he has time to actually study an opponent who on paper is very dangerous. I do not expect Mendy to ever get close enough to Bute to be able to effectively hit him with hooks to the body. Right? Bute to me is too shrewd for that. All I can say too is, as I've written in my Gambler's Advisory book, counterpunchers who have cracked your code are very hard to deal with once they've done so. Compare and contrast Bute's first fight with Libredo Andrade to Bute's second fight with Libredo Andrade, where Bute, figured out that he could hit Andrade's body and then goes to town on it. Also, as you look at the percentage of body shots that Bute hits Mendy with, just remember, and keep in mind, Mendy has a pretty good defensive guard. Just remember that we were into something like the fourth round of the Hay-Klitschko fight before I believe Vladimir Klitschko officially landed a body punch on David Hay, right? You're talking about a complete fighter here in Bute. If Bute does have a hole, he did get tired against Libredo Andrade in the first fight. He did get knocked down in that fight. He did tire late in the Sakio Bika fight. He did, I believe, lose the 12th round or some late round of that fight. The reason why here I don't think his stamina is going to be an issue in part is because Mendy is in his late 30s. Mendy, I believe, is something like 37 years old. So I'm expecting Bute to win this one going away. I'm not sure if the betting line makes this match bettable, but I do expect Bute to be the better man on fight night. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com.